Hello everyone and welcome to our podcast. I am Rajat Kumar, studying in first year MBA of Alliance School of Business. Today we have Dr. ABHISHEK Venkteswar, the Assistant Director of Student Activities and Assistant Professor and UG Program Lead of Alliance School of Business. Welcome to our podcast, sir.
Thank you, Rajat. Thank you so much for having me on board.
Yes. So I would like to know that what made you to pursue inside student activities and their engagement.
Okay, well, to start off with, I didn't, plan my career out of student affairs, but I certainly want to become a professor. Why? Because from childhood, I've always had the passion of teaching, and I realized professor is possibly the best option for me. Once I became a professor, I realized that academics is not going to be enough. You need to give students some form of engagement to make them employable, to make them, intellectually productive. You need to design activities. And I realized to do that, I had to get into student affairs. So today I'm very happy designing co-curricular, extracurricular activities, planning events, fests. And I think these are things that give me a lot of happiness apart from the fact that I teach full time. So balancing and juggling between these two is something that I enjoy.
So as you told, you were passionate about professor. Could you explain who was a role model for that?
From childhood, to start off with, my mother has been my biggest inspiration. She is a role model. But there was a teacher in 8th standard called Maya ma'am. She was an amazing teacher. She came into the class with conviction. The way she introduced the subject, I was head over heels in love with her as a teacher. After that, I think if you look at a role model, our pro-chancellor, Mr. ABHISHEK, every time I talk to sir, I am inspired by him. I'm inspired the way he handles such a huge university at such a young age. It's definitely inspiring. So Abhay sir is my role model currently.
Okay, I would ask what is your biggest achievement so far for you?
Whatever I've done so far, my biggest achievement is when a student comes back and says, sir, you taught me in 2015, you taught me in 2016, how are you? I remember your classes. That makes my day and that makes my year complete. So I think a student acknowledgement, student recognition is something that I absolutely enjoy.
So I would like to say, what is the proudest moment which you made your happiness?
I think in terms of my, my student becoming a professor has really made my, journey very meaningful, because he was a student, and then one fine day he decided to pursue a path, seeing my career, and he ended up becoming a professor. I think that has made an everlasting impression on me.
Okay, I have gone through a book, sir, like you have written the Game of Entrepreneurs. Could you share your experience?
I designed that book called Game of Entrepreneurs to basically correlate entrepreneurship, case studies, management with a completely different theme of Game of Thrones. All of us would have seen Game of Thrones. Why I did this is, I think especially at a master's level, there's a lot of content people consume. So I wanted this particular book to, take them to another world, yet give them management level of, inputs, management skills, managerial skills. So that was the whole intention behind it.
So have you written recent book called the Strategic Insight? So what made you to write on that?
I realized that 4th semester MBA students, the course is very, very tough and they don't have too much time. So I had to reduce the, 100, 200 page cases into 1 or 2 pages. So I picked about 80 cases, condensed that and made it into one write-up, and that became a one-stop shop for case studies. So that was the whole perspective and objective about writing that particular book, Strategic Insights.
I would ask you, what's your favorite book and why?
There's this book called as Philip Kotler, Principles of Management by Philip Kotler. That's my favorite book. At any given point, if you give me that book, I will continue reading it, because every time I read that book, I get a new perspective. And for a professor, that book is definitely the Bible or the Gita or the Quran.
So I would ask you that, what do you think it takes to succeed in life?
Two very important things that you should keep in mind. Never let success get your head, and never let failure get your heart. If you remember these two things, you can handle life.
I would ask you, what is the advice could you give for the young generation?
I would say that live your life, but whenever you're doing something, remember there's a consequence. If you can face the consequence, go ahead and do it. If you can't, refrain from it. If you're able to understand this, life will be peaceful.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on our podcast, sir.
Thank you, Raja.
Thank you.
Thank you.